Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Wanda Curley, your authority on everything that is project, program, and portfolio management. This podcast is brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting company on project, program, and portfolio management. Make sure to contact us if you're in need of any of those items. Today, I'm going to kind of touch on what I learned last week at the PMI Leadership volunteer event. And remember, one of the things that I talked about last week was that PMI, Project Management Institute, said that there was going to be disruptive technologies, and we're already seeing that. And one of the disruptive technologies is artificial intelligence. So I just want to put some credence, because you've heard me talk a lot about AI and project management. And so right now, if you go out to YouTube, and if you type in the search window, artificial intelligence and project management practice, you'll actually bring up a YouTube video of about almost 43 minutes. Now, I will say that it was difficult to understand. It's done by Ahmed Mashoud. It was difficult to understand, and it was a little bit like a college or university lecture. There were some lighter moments in there. For example, he had the Google little film that has an artificial intelligence talking to different people trying to schedule a meeting or trying to schedule a time for different things. And some of it was funny and some of it went very well. But it's kind of interesting to see that this is starting to be accepted in the world and gives us credibility in the project management environment that we need to have these things. So I advocate to you, when you have 43 minutes or you want to put it on in the background, you go out to artificial intelligence and project management practice on YouTube. Again, I would just put it in the background and listen to it. It's the audio is a little bit difficult to hear, and in fact, they do have some audio problems at the beginning. And looking at the overheads is almost terrible. You can't see them. But let's turn now to another one that I thought was very interesting, and it's on LinkedIn Learning. And if you go out to www.linkedin.com/learning/artificial-intelligence-4, not the number 4, but the word 4, -project managers, you will have a LinkedIn Learning on artificial intelligence and project management. I found this very, very, very interesting. It's more from a practical experience for project managers and what you can do. It's not going to tell you about artificial intelligence except at a high level, but it tells you what to do with it and what you need to do with it and how it can help you. And it's nothing more than I've said previously on different shows about podcasts on project management and AI, but this one will put it all succinctly, and I highly recommend that you go listen to it. And let me tell you the different areas in it. There are 4 different areas, and in the first there's an introduction, but then it goes into artificial intelligence overview. So it tells you about artificial intelligence and the importance of artificial intelligence and why it's important to project management. Then the second and third parts are the meat of this learning environment, and they're all short vignettes so that you can look at them and you don't have to take a whole lot of time, and you can go away and come back. But the longest one is 3 minutes, so that's really great. So in the second part, it's major changes driving artificial intelligence adoption. And he talks about evolving work trends, rise of productization, speed of innovation, demand for predictability, rapid scalability. All those are things that we need to be able to do in project management. And we as human beings can't do that very well, but AI can. Then in the third part, it's called Prepare for Artificial Intelligence Disruption. And it says anticipate change, think entrepreneurial, leverage human creativity, hone leadership skills. Yeah, you need to hone your leadership skills for AI, or else you won't survive. Harness the power of artificial intelligence. So in the fourth part, which is harness the power for artificial intelligence. And the last part, it's initiate projects with artificial intelligence, plan projects with artificial intelligence, execute projects with artificial intelligence, monitor and control projects with AI, close projects with AI, and integrate projects with artificial intelligence. And then there's a conclusion. But one of the things that I found kind of interesting in this was in the area of demand predictability, some of the things that he says artificial intelligence will monitor very well for us are deadlines. Absolutely. In fact, artificial intelligence can even help you create the timelines and can help you understand if you're going to meet the deadlines, which resources are running behind, which resources are running ahead. Are they being are the resources predictable? Are they being efficient? Can they be more productive? Productivity, which I just talked about. Risks, yes, it can look at risks for you. Are you looking at the wrong risks? Which risks are getting ready to bite you and you didn't even realize that they were going to bite you? So this is something that AI can do very well. And quality, absolutely, it can see if you're meeting the quality demands. So what are some of the things about entrepreneurial that he talks about that I found very interesting? While you don't have to be an expert in AI, you have to understand it and you have to be able to speak to the technical folks to see if you can harness the information, because it might be that in your organization, you don't even collect the data that you need for artificial intelligence and project management. So you need to start doing it. For example, you need to have lessons learned. You need to have previous timelines. You need to have quality that was done on previous projects. You need to have risks that were done on previous projects. And what AI will go out and do and say, okay, I'm doing an IT project on an ERP and it's a full-scale implementation. So it will go out and look at previous projects. And I'm sure in time there will be databases that you can subscribe to that will also have different types of projects where you can go in and glean data from this. Because remember, artificial intelligence is gleaning the data and then doing analysis on it. So that's what you want to be able to do, is take that. Be a rock star. Be a rainmaker in your organization if you go to my model, and show and tell senior management that you need AI on your projects. Remember, that is not happening right now. If you implement AI on your projects and start it out at a slow level, but you have to be able to articulate it in a way that you can let senior management say, do you want to have information at the push of a button or needed real time? Well, AI can do that for you. Do you want to be able to hone communications in the way that the stakeholder wants to see it? AI can do that for you. Have the right information to the right stakeholder in the right way at the right time. That is incredibly hard for project managers to do. And yes, they do he touches on the learning in here that people will be replaced because of AI. But those of us that learn how to use the soft skills of leadership and harness the creativity of people and see trends of what's going on the project due to AI, these will be the people that will end up doing very well in project management. They will be the rainmakers of project management and go into program management and portfolio. There is no reason that AI can't help you in all three of those areas. And I can see where portfolio management AI should be absolutely a crutch, because there is so much data that we need in portfolio management, and there's no way that you can do it alone. And you don't want to have 50 people in your organization to run a portfolio. That is incredibly an enormous amount of overhead. So one thing we didn't talk about was financials. You can absolutely do financials on this, and you can see if you're running ahead or behind. It can actually even do your budget for you on your projects. So understand AI, understand what it can do for you in there, and articulate that to senior management so you can put a project in place to use AI on projects, programs, and portfolios. So going on a little bit more about the leadership, the Project Management Institute leadership meeting that we just went through in Philadelphia. they had all kinds of different projects that were out there. There were projects in healthcare. There were projects, infrastructure projects. There were AI projects. There were energy projects. There were any project you can think of, they were showcasing the project manager on it. So let me go and showcase some projects that in different areas that I'd like to talk about. So the first one is the top biotech and medicine advances to expect in 2019. So project managers are running this. So let's talk about some of the things that we can expect in 2019. So the first one is called, and this is brought to you by Singularity Hub, gene drives used in the wild. The concept of gene drives scares many for good reason. Gene drives are a step up in severity from CRISPR and other gene editing tools. Even with germline editing, in which sperm, egg, and embryos are altered, gene editing affects just one genetic line, one family, at least at the beginning, before they reproduce with the general population. So we're going to be able to, we've already mapped DNA, but we're going to be able to understand where the problem is in the genes, and we're going to be able to fix those genes. So we'll be able to eradicate things, wipe out things like malaria, dengue fever, Zika virus. Can you imagine if we could eradicate all of this stuff due to genes? That would be amazing to us. But to take it even farther, eradicating diseases might be good, but we could eradicate things like cancer, different forms of cancer. So it'll be interesting to see and watch out for that. So stay tuned, because there's a project manager on that that's running that. So then there's a universal flu vaccine. Can you imagine if we could take one flu vaccine for all different types of flu? That's coming too, and we may see it in 2019. That'll be absolutely great, because right now the flu vaccine that you take is only for about 50% of the flu viruses that they expect that year. Not the ones that will hit, but the ones that they expect. So they do it a year in advance. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. In-body gene editing shows further promise. So again, I was talking about how we can cure diseases with gene splicing. Well, this will be actually doing it in a human being, whereas if you develop a muscle wasting disease, they can go into your body by different means and can absolutely edit the genes so that no longer exists in your body. Can you imagine of that? So right now it's called CAR-T therapy, CAR-T therapy. So stay tuned for that. We might be seeing different diseases that we have today that are going away. Remember I said cancer? So we'll be able to manipulate genes in our own bodies, which is kind of scary to me. And then we're going to have more Neurolink and other brain-machine interfaces. We're already seeing those with people that are being able to walk, to move their limbs with just thinking about in their brains, without even those people that are paralyzed that can now move limbs because they have some altering Neuralink with a brain-machine interface. To me, that's absolutely fascinating. So what's another health area that we have? This, again, is brought to you by Singularity Hub. It's called the 5 major drug breakthroughs that happened in 2018. So if these happened in 2018, think about what's going to happen in 2019. So I'm sure that many of you have heard of the drug CBD. It's cannabis, but without the hallucinogenic effect in it. And I've seen it advertised in my pharmacy. And it claims to be able to help you with pain and many other things, muscular pain, bone pain, etc. And the pharmacist that I go to swears by it. And she says it gives you absolutely no highs because all that part has been taken out of it. But what they have found also with CBT is epilepsy. It helps kids with epilepsy. And there was this one child that they talk about, her name is Charlotte. She was having almost 300 seizures per week. She started taking CBD, and her seizures went almost away. She was actually reverting. Her brain function was reverting back to more of a baby. She was 3 years old when all of this was happening, and now she's starting to thrive. So can you imagine this? If CBD can help cure epilepsy or at least manage it in a way that we had never thought about? And then one drug that is near and dear to my heart is Aimovig. It's Aimovig. I am a migraine sufferer, and I have been on many different types of medications and have seen some relief. I started using Aimovig about 6 months ago, and I have, in the last 6 months, can count on one hand the amount of migraines I've had. It used to be that I would have 10 to 15 migraines a month. Now, in the last 6 months, I've had about 4 or 5. So to me, this is a miracle drug, and I hope that it's great. And it's a shot that you take once a month. And I know some people are saying, oh, a shot, blah, 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 blah. Well, I can tell you, for those of you who suffer from migraines, you would much rather take a shot once a month than to suffer from migraines. So stay tuned as we're finding new cures. And I don't want to call it a cure because it's not a cure, but a prevention drug for migraines. We'll be finding prevention drugs for other things. Now, here's another one. It's called and excuse me, I may not pronounce it right. It's Lucemyra. It's a non-opioid withdrawal drug. So part of the problems with opioid addiction is the withdrawal effect of trying to get off of the opioid. And what we do nowadays is that we use one opioid for another one to withdraw you from the effects of the opioid. Well, that doesn't sound too smart to me, but I'm not a doctor, and that's what they do. Well, this Lucemyra is not an opioid, and it decreases, it works on blocking some of the neurotransmitters by some of the opioid that is let off. So it works for oxycodone, fentanyl, codeine, or heroin. So it makes the withdrawal symptoms much more easy to handle. And so I think we might be seeing a way out of opioid addiction if we can find out that we can make the withdrawal effects much easier. Then there's a new drug for HIV. It's called Biktarvy. Again, I may not have pronounced it correctly, but it's the most potent HIV medication to date. And let me just read you what it says. An AIDS diagnosis today is no longer the death sentence it was in the 1980s. Although treatment options are readily available, patients need to strictly adhere to regimens of antivirals to avoid having the virus kick into full gear. This year, the FDA approved Biktarvy by Gilead Sciences, a 3-in-1 pill to be taken once a day to keep AIDS in check. So can you imagine taking 3 pills in one? And you only take it once a day, so you don't have to take it over the course of the day. So they said additional trials need to be done, but it seems to be very promising. Then there's a Big Brother pill that actually tracks if you're staying good to your medications by analyzing your poop, believe it or not. So can you imagine people that are schizophrenics because they hate taking their medication? Well, this new Big Brother digital pill, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Will be able to analyze your poop and daily tell whether you're taking your medications or not. So as we see that in neuropsychiatric drugs, we'll be able to see that later on for people that are older, who are forgetful. We can maybe give them this Big Brother digital pill to see if they're taking their right medications at the right time. So I'm anxious to see that, because I know I would love to see my mother maybe get something like that, because she has a hard time remembering what medication she needs to take. So that's a great pill that's coming along. So last but not least, let me talk about something that's in cybersecurity a little bit, or kind of in cybersecurity. And many of you may have heard of this already. But again, this is brought to you by Singularity Hub. It says 3D printed heads can unlock phones. What does that mean for biometric security? Well, let me say that it was tested only on 5 phones. And one of those phones was an iPhone, and the rest of them were Androids. And what they did was, this one person did a 3D image of his head. and he wanted to see if 3D images could break the phone. Well, if you have an iPhone, you'll be happy to know that the iPhone 10, it was not able to break it. However, on the LG's G7, the ThinQ, a OnePlus 6, Samsung's Galaxy S9, which is what I have, and the Samsung Galaxy Note 8, those were all able to be hacked. The iPhone 10 was not able to. And that was done with a fake head. Now, he does go on to say that it was difficult to do, but it was able to do with those 4 other phones. So stay tuned with where cybersecurity is going on your phone, because I think we're going to see that that's going to be changing as time goes on. Can you imagine I know some phones do retinal scans now. If you can do a 3D image of your eyeball and you can hack in with the retinal image. So it'll be interesting to see what we have going on these days. And these were all things that were brought in at the PMI's live PM. So we as project managers are working on the cusp of everything in healthcare, in infrastructure, in cybersecurity. So be there, be knowledgeable, and understand how disruptive technologies can help you in project management to make your life easier, to make you more creative, and to make you a better leader. So without further ado, this podcast was brought to you by PM Powered, your consulting company in project, program, and portfolio management. I am Wanda Curley, your authority on project, program, and portfolio management. Please contact me at wanda@pmpowered.com if you are working on any of these areas, or if you disagree with me on anything. I'm by no means an expert on all of this, so I would love to hear from you. I am at wanda@pmpowered.com. Please connect with me on PM Current, and you can link with me on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. I'd love to see you there. You have a great week, and I'll see you next Monday.